We're back with another episode of Biz Mindz. On this episode, we have Adam Corcoran, the owner of Elevation Marketing. Thanks for joining us, Adam.
Thank you for having us.
Yeah, so Adam, let's learn a little bit more about you. So where did you grow up and how did you make your way to Southwest Florida?
Sure. I'm from New Jersey originally, born and raised, and after college, I ended up finding myself coming down to Southwest Florida. My mom came down for a job, and that was right after I graduated college in 2009. So it was going to be hard for me to live in New Jersey on my own. So I came down and followed my mom and then taught for a couple of years in the Collier County's public schools, and then found a passion for marketing. I went to school for marketing and advertising and design, so it kind of fit in perfect.
Yeah, so you went to college for marketing?
Mm-hmm. I sure did.
And how long ago was that?
So I went to West Virginia University from 2005 to 2009.
So what you were taught, was it, what do you think about what you were taught versus where we're at today and how things have changed, especially in marketing?
It's totally different. I mean, in some aspects, some of my favorite classes from college was like consumer behavior and advertising and understanding the psychology around things. But now fast forward to today, we have classes in colleges that are like social media marketing, right? I mean, I think, social media has really changed our world and how we think of things, especially from a marketing and advertising perspective. So from that, it's definitely evolved. There was no classes for social media marketing back then. So we kind of had to learn as we go.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Your first job was as a teacher, like teaching?
That's right.
What did, how long did you do that for? Did you transition into another industry before you branched off into doing your own thing?
Yeah, so I taught for a couple of years, and my mom has been in healthcare my entire life. So she's been a nurse, and she ran home care agencies in New Jersey, and then came down here and was an administrator for an agency. So when I left teaching, I got my first corporate job at Blue Cross Blue Shield, Florida Blue down here. And I worked that corporate environment for about 2 years. And it was my first actual marketing experience. And I found out very quickly what I didn't want in my life. From a perspective of, corporate entity, kind of the middle management. I worked the corporate ladder up pretty quickly, and I was just traveling way too much. So I knew it was time to make a change. And I had a long conversation with my mom about what my next job was going to be. And she said, you should get into healthcare. And I said, well, I'm not a nurse. I'm not a clinician or anything like that. And she's like, well, home care agencies need marketers. So that was like my aha pivotal moment of, leaving the corporate world and going to work for a home care agency out of Fort Myers. And my responsibility was to build the Naples territory. I did that pretty quickly. I was working for a franchise at the time, and I built my territory. And then in 2017, I was asked to start a startup. So it was bootstraps on the ground, zero back in 2017, and we grew to a multi-million-dollar company.
What type of startup?
A home care agency.
Home care agency?
Yeah. So
based out of here, Naples?
Mm-hmm, that's right. Yeah, it was privately owned, so it's not part of a franchise. So the cool thing about that was coming from an experience of when you're working for a franchise and you're pretty much given all your digital assets, your logos, your creative, as a graphic designer, you're like, I can make this better, So my hands were tied in so many situations when I was working for the franchise home care agency. And then when I had the opportunity to do the startup in 2017, it was like such a cool opportunity because, from day one, we had to create everything. Mm-hmm. And that's where I see being able to thrive. So, I built a huge portfolio of different, being a teacher, I was big on visual aids, making sure I had flyers and brochures and rack cards that spoke specifically to the needs of home care during that time. So that was a cool thing to be able to, start it from the ground up.
What was your role in that company? Was it marketing?
Director of business development. That's right.
Business development?
That's right. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And how long, and this was 2017 with the startup.
Yep.
How long until you transitioned into your own thing?
Yeah, so it's actually an interesting story. So 2017, we started up. We built it to a multi-million-dollar company within just a couple of years. During COVID is actually when I really leaned in on my graphic design abilities. I remember it clear as day. It was like the second week of March of 2020. And at that time, I was involved with a ton of Facebook groups of home care owners across the nation, right? And we're starting to see all this like negative energy of like, oh my gosh, I'm not going to be able to like go market and have my salespeople in our accounts. And I was like, I remember like right when we figured out what was happening with COVID, I was like, we need to create a flyer of like why home care is so relevant during this like uncertain time. So I did that like literally that night. I created a 1-page flyer that just had 5 or 6 bullet points of saying like, why is healthcare so relevant here in Southwest Florida during this time? And we got that flyer into all the hospitals. Our business, no joke, like doubled within a 3-month period of time because we were so successful with the collateral that we put in place. So I went back to these Facebook groups and I'm like, how can I help this community? Right? Like, I mean, everyone's like really down. The energy's like real negative. So I actually reached, and the Facebook group had between 3,000 and 4,000 home care owners across the nation. And I went to the administrator, who is now a friend of mine, Greg Mazza. And he's like a home care consultant. He has long experience working in home care, but now he does like coaching and masterminds and stuff like that. So I went to him, I said, hey, like I created this 1-page flyer that's super successful. I'm seeing a lot of traction. I said, I'm happy to just, do this flyer, create this flyer for anybody in your group at no cost. Like there's no catch, like just to help the community. He was like, yeah, go for it. Like, no problem. I wanted him to know, like I wasn't trying to solicit or anything. So that night I posted, I said, hey, I know there's a lot going on right now with it's uncertain times. I said, we've created this flyer and we've seen great success in it. I said, I would be happy, just out of courtesy, to create this for you and put their logo on it, their colors, their information, and send them digital files and they can get it printed wherever. And no joke, I had no idea what was going to happen. Seriously.
So like everyone ended up wanting it.
Overnight, I had over 200 requests in my DMs on Facebook for people wanting this custom flyer. So Greg calls me the next day. He's like, dude, do you want me to pull this post? Like, I don't know how you're going to do this. I was like, the truth is it's not that hard. Like pull off a logo, put on a logo, change a color.
Yeah.
It's good. He's like, no, he's like, I've been running this group for, a couple of years. He's like, I've never seen a post this highly trafficked. I was like, no, it's going to be fine. Like, it's going to trickle to the bottom and it'll be forgotten. Well, in his settings in that group, once someone comments on it, it rises back up to the top. So no joke, for a 2-week period, I was creating these logos and I would get asked like, all right, well, where do I get this printed? And I was like, Staples, Office Max, like, I don't know, figure it out, I was like, I did this for free, like, have at it. I'm like, you can't print it for us? And I'm like, And that light bulb went off. And I was like, maybe I can. So within a couple-week period, I got initially set up with a printing conglomerate where I was able to drop ship flyers, brochures, business cards to all these people nationwide. So a business was no joke born right in the beginning of COVID. We started the business called Home Care Flyers because literally we were creating flyers for home care agencies across the nation. And then it evolved, right? It became, the best feeling was when these home care owners are coming back to me saying like, it's working, like this collateral is working and it looks good. Like we want something else. We want your next flyer. We want to have our brochure looking just like this. So the request is coming and then they were asking for like shirts and pens and promotional items. And I was like, all right, this is a legit company. I had to hire my first employee at the time. And mind you, at the same time, I'm juggling being the director of business development for the home care agency. So for about 2 years, I juggled both businesses for that time. And then 2022 is when we rebranded to Elevation Marketing. It was time, being home care flyers was pretty specific. Mm-hmm. We didn't want to pigeonhole ourselves to just say that we only work with home care agencies. We only do flyers. So we rebranded in 2022 and it's been great. So, our local footprint on being able to do printing and promotional products and apparel has grown substantially. So it's been a fun journey, but it also and I say this with good intention, doing the right thing without expectation is always the right thing. Mm-hmm. Something so simple as really being genuine and trying to help our community turned into, an opportunity. Mm-hmm. I've always been an entrepreneur from a little kid, but being able to grow this company to what it is now, truly based off of just good intention. It just speaks for itself, mm-hmm. Always by doing the right thing.
Yeah. Yeah, I love that. And I'd like to know your thoughts on print versus digital, mm-hmm. and what your overall thoughts are on that. And also as we keep progressing, right, during, with tech and digital, what do you think marketing looks like, 5 years from now? Right.
Well, things have changed so much in the just past decade, right? And a lot of people come to me you're getting into a printing business. Don't you think print's dead? And I have to challenge that to some perspective. Because I remember even being in my sales role, going into the hospitals, I needed to have collateral and leave behinds for the social workers and the discharge planners to be able to pass out to all the patients. So, from a perspective of digital and print, I think there has to be a mix, right? Nowadays you have digital business cards, right? And that's pretty sweet. Even the QR codes that you can scan, the dot cards, that be able to contact all your information right into that person's phone. That's great. But I do think there's still a world for print. I just think that digital is moving in that direction where, will it take over completely? We don't know. Mm-hmm. But I do think that there is still room for people to have good quality print material. If you look at all the realtors here in Naples, there's going to be space for digital and being able to have a lot of information. But when you go to an open house of a $3.5 million home, you're going to want some nice takeaways, good quality material to be able to hand to these prospective clients, But I think digital is moving faster than some might expect, but it's also I've been in an industry that's kind of tried and true in healthcare, right? So I think different industries will adapt to it quicker than others.
What do you think about print magazines?
Magazines, I still think a lot of people, it depends on the readership, right? I think the demographic, I come from a world of the page turners. People still read newspapers in some demographics. I think there's a space for. Why do you guys have a?
No. When was the last time you picked up a print magazine?
That's a good point.
Touche.
Yeah, it's true. I can't say I have. I've always adapted to technology a little bit faster than others.
Yeah.
Even when I was in college and they had the option of getting digital textbooks rather than, traditional textbooks, I went the digital route.
Yeah.
I know some people aren't like that though.
Yeah. It's really super interesting, right? Mm-hmm. It is very interesting, especially being here in Naples where it's an older demographic.
Right.
And the first thought is always, older, so they're on these older things, right? Mm-hmm. Or they're consuming in an older way. But really, the older demo has so much time that they're on their digital platforms all day, iPad, iPhone, phone in general. So it's just very interesting, and at least I find it really interesting to see how print is going to evolve or where it's going to go. Not so much on the promotional items. I think promotional items will always be great because
It's still a category in marketing.
Yes, but
people want their swag,
yeah, the thing that like signs, right? Like all promotional items are great, but I think on the advertising side, like print magazines, I'm very curious to see where that's going to go, especially because tracking is so difficult.
That's right.
Right?
That's right.
And digital tracks everything today.
Well, in digital, you could be so specific, right? To go run a Facebook ad, to narrow down your key demographic, your target audience of who you want to get in front of, down to a certain zip code. Like, you can't do that with a newspaper, right? You know, with newspapers, I mean, in the past, 10 years, people have gotten creative and created, call numbers associated to their advertisements to try to track it a little bit better. But the truth is, unless you're doing a really, really, really good job of tracking, you're throwing money at the wall and seeing what sticks. When you're doing digital, you guys know firsthand, you have the opportunity to look through click-through rates and talk about conversions. Like, that's money well spent if you're seeing the good outcome.
Yeah. Especially for people that advertise in print magazines, right? It's like it's tough because you can't track anything,
right?
And then we don't know how many magazines you printed, so you literally can't track anything.
Well, and you also don't know what the viewership is or the readability. You know what I mean? I mean, there's some like drop shipped newspapers, so to speak, that you have to pick up. And they could say they print 50,000 a week or whatever that looks like, but they might be sitting in a rack waiting for someone to pick it up, right? So using metrics of like how many they're printing isn't really a good judgment of how many people are actually reading it, right? And actually, that's why I said that, spending marketing dollars on stuff like that is becoming harder to justify when you can take that same dollar amount
and reach thousands of people.
Yeah.
And know the outcome
on your own platforms too.
That's right.
Yeah.
Right.
What are your thoughts on, or what's your opinion about what is marketing?
I think the biggest thing to me is people don't understand the difference between marketing and sales, right? I mean,
I love this conversation.
Yeah, I've seen this all too well. Is people like, oh, I'm a marketing person. I'm like, no, you're really a sales person, So I think of two ways. Marketing is kind of wide scope. Like when we're talking about different marketing opportunities, it's your brand, right? Your logo, your brand book, and your different channels that you're using marketing, right? Whereas sales is like more so feet on the ground, meetings with people one-on-one, doing sales presentations. A lot of people have it confused. I look at social media marketing and stuff like that. Like, that's not sales, right? That's more at the marketing, kind of wider reach.
Awareness.
Right, exactly.
Yeah, I agree 100%. Sometimes people think, I'm going to boost this thing and that's going to flip my company up.
Right.
Or I need sales, let's do more marketing.
Right. It's different. Weird. Well, I think the best companies have a good mix and understanding of where to spend the money and in which pillars, so to speak, right? Yeah. The most successful companies that I've seen even here at a localized level, you have a billboard, you have something that you're going to hear on the radio, you're seeing, some of these organizations out at community events. Like, those touch points are very influential. And I think, hats off to some of these companies that are doing, because it's like, when you drive down and you see a billboard, like, are you going to stop right there and pick up the phone and call a company? Maybe not, right? But it's that at extra level, at that touch point, that's going to make a difference when you need that something or service. Oh, they're here in the community, right? Because you saw them on the billboard, you heard them on the radio, you saw them at the tabling event, at the health fair or something like that. It's those key touch points.
Yeah.
Also like consistency, right?
Yes.
I think that, like, if you're not consistent, your marketing is never going to work.
That's right.
And all you have to do is just create attention, and then after you create attention, then you can present any product or get into sales. But that's something that I think people should understand more, or should be taught more.
Yeah.
Because it's I mean, I remember even when we were little, right? And let's say my cousin wanted to go and ask for permission for something, and nobody would listen to him or her. but then you break a glass and everybody's looking at you. And then once you break the glass, then you can ask for permission, right?
Right,
So
right.
it's almost the same thing. Getting the attention first, and then there's another step, which is, sales,
Consistency.
customer service, and all that, where that's when the sales starts getting generated.
Yeah. And it's all in relationships, right? I mean, I think over time you have to understand that going back to that consistency, making sure that your messaging is similar, your brand identity is in place. I've even seen that, and I'm sure you guys see this in the digital space. It's like, you want people to have a brand identity, and people don't maybe take that too seriously. But like, you should be able to drive down the street and see a billboard and within seconds know what brand that is. When people have different font styles for one thing, or they're, creating their printed materials are here and their direct mail campaigns are over here, but their digital looks totally different. It's counterproductive. Having that brand identity across all platforms is only going to support that strong brand.
Yeah, I agree. I think companies should keep focusing more and more on brand, because when you stop the ads, the leads stop, right? But with the brand, you keep working your brands, leads are organically coming in, and there's a lot of touch points, like you were saying. And especially in markets and industries where there's a lot of competition and it's growing and growing, right? Like med spas is a big one.
Right.
So, you have a med spa in every single plaza.
Right.
It's like, what? And people are going to shop around. And if everybody's running all these ads and it's cheaper here, cheaper, like they're all just competing to who's the cheapest on ads, that's their offer, then it's very difficult to retain a client like that because they're just shopping around.
Sure.
But if you're building a brand and consumers are like, I have to go there because X, Y, Z.
Well, it's also about differentiation too. I mean, I don't think people take the opportunity to be laser focused on how they can set themselves apart from their competitors. I even learned firsthand. I remember when I first started, doing the printing, and I was like, I have to be cheaper than Vistaprint. And that was my mindset. I have to be cheaper than Vistaprint, because Vistaprint, is known as like the place you go for cheap business cards, right? So I knew I had to have a competitive advantage. And now that my company's matured a little bit, I've realized that our graphic design skills and the content that we're being able to bring to the table is much more valuable than anything that Vistaprint can offer, right? So it's like finding that edge, finding that differentiation. Don't always put yourself next to that person and compare yourself on cost, right? Find opportunities that you can add value to rise up to the top.
What are the hurdles with a business like yours? Because you mentioned graphic design, and in today's world, there's Canva, and everybody's a graphic designer now.
That's right. That's right.
So what are hurdles in your business? Do you ever get clients like that are like, oh, but
Yeah, 100%. So I have a love-hate relationship with Canva. I'll tell you why. Because to your point, and it was funny. We were in a coffee shop the other day, me and my team, and we were walking by, and our business manager was like, every single person is literally on Canva right now. She's like, doesn't that drive you nuts? And I'm like, yes and no. I love the fact that people have a platform where they can go to and have creativity put in place. Where I don't love it is Canva's set up so that they print through Canva, right? So don't get it confused. They have a goal in mind. They're not making millions and millions of dollars just on their premium subscriptions. So they want you to print through there. But in my opinion, a lot of people use Canva and they just don't understand the printing side of things, of having appropriate crop marks and bleeds and making sure text isn't too far, to the edge. So I've learned to kind of meet my clients where they're at, right? It's like, hey, I know you created your own flyer and you think it looks great. That's fine. Send me the Canva link and let me have it set up for print, because I don't want it to not look good when it gets on paper.
Yeah.
And then my other biggest hurdle is people don't understand colors. RGB versus CMYK. I really should do an educational, podcast on this specifically, because something that might look good on a computer screen right?
Isn't the same in real life.
Isn't the same, right? You print it and you're like, whoa, those colors are totally different. It's like, because you designed your branding, your logo, your collateral with a different color scheme. Like, so like vibrant blues and some purples. There's a lot of colors that just are not going to print well. So when I'm doing logo design for people, I have that in mind. And I try to educate people to understand, like, hey, this is what it looks like on a computer. It looks great, but this is how it's going to print. So if you're doing a lot of printing, you might want to look at another color that's going to actually look on a screen well and also print well.
Yeah.
You know,
There was somebody's logo that we saw and that came into the office, and we were like, "Yeah, it looks great on digital, but how are you going to put that on a shirt?"
That.
No, it was impossible.
How are you gonna
A
put
lot
that
of
on-
people like to use gradient, that's not even. They don't understand.
gradient 3D, like neon lights all over. I'm like, it looks
Or like
looks
a
cool.
wallpaper looking logo.
yeah. Well, and the thing too is, like, when I'm creating logos, I'm also thinking 3 steps ahead of them, because like if you're going to get an embroidered T-shirt, you know what I mean, like. Or you're going to do screen printing on T-shirts, like more colors, more cost, right? You have to keep that in mind. So when someone comes to me with 6 colors in their logo and they want a full color T-shirt, I'm like, that's going to cost $40. They're like, what? I'm like, more colors, more cost. We can convert it to a 1 color, and we can do that for them. But I mean, people have to have that stuff in mind. Like what you said, like gradients. It's really, really, really hard to embroider a gradient. We've done it, but it's not easy. You know?
How many colors do you recommend on a logo?
I would say no more than 3. I say
Fonts.
no more.
What about fonts?
As far as fonts, 2.
2.
Mm-hmm. 2 in the logo. No, I mean, gosh, you catch me dead if I put more than 2 fonts in a logo. I'm okay with having multiple fonts in a brand book, you know, and stuff that they're going to use in, you know, other collaterals and stuff like that. I mean, I'm keeping the same family, but yeah, I primarily use 1 or 2 fonts and no more than 3 colors.
Yeah. And your clients or future clients of yours, where do they go? Can they go on your website to check out what they can order from you guys, and everything it just goes through your site?
Yeah, our website's actually going to launch here within the next couple of weeks. It's elevationmktg.com. And there you're going to be able to find what our offerings are. And really what we're looking to do is find a 15-minute conversation to understand what their goals are. You know, I mean, my biggest thing is to understand where they're at and what they're looking to accomplish. If people want to print 100 business cards, I can do that. But I also want to know more about where they're at in their business. How else can I help them? You know, we've always said, I mean, if you have a logo, we can do anything that you can put your logo on, right? And I honestly believe that. You know, we're doing stuff as little as business cards to doing, you know, billboards and signage. And, you know, we just worked with the hospital this past couple of weeks, and we did like a ton of acrylic signs for them. So vehicle wraps, I mean, you name it, we can do it. So I want to uncover a little bit more. One of the biggest things that I felt that has been really instrumental in our growth is being able to streamline processes. You know, I've seen people say, you know, I'm getting my business cards over here. I'm doing my direct mail campaign with a marketing agency. I'm ordering my brochures on Vistaprint. Like, and then they get upset when colors are off and printing doesn't look the same. So it's like, if you can have a company that can handle all your promotional products, your printing, and your apparel, keeping that brand consistency is important. But even more so, it's finding opportunity to streamline that process. You have one point of contact to be able to lessen your vendor relationship, right? You don't have to go to 6 or 7 different places to get stuff done. So, you know, I had a customer tell me, not only are you saving us money, but you're saving us time that we can't get back. So that's been a fun experience to see it from that perspective.
How big is the team right now?
Let me just fix this. Let me just put this like this, like that. There you go.
Gotcha.
How big is the team right now?
So right now, our 3rd employee starting on Monday. Paige will come on as our client services coordinator. And Sierra's been with me for the past 3 years. We have a couple of 1099 contractors that help out with some sales. But yeah, we're a growing team.
That's awesome, man. And you mentioned like acrylic signs or wraps for vehicles. You guys aren't doing the wrapping, are you?
No.
You're not doing the wrapping.
No.
You're just doing the design of it.
Right.
Got it.
You'll catch me sometimes during the week putting up signs and banners and stuff like that.
Yeah.
That's for sure. But I have more strengths on the design and sales side of it.
More the design side. Okay, gotcha.
That's right. Yeah.
Gotcha.
What do you think about that saying that says sales make you rich, marketing makes you wealthy?
Actually, I've never heard that before.
No?
Say that one more time.
Sales will make you rich, marketing will make you wealthy.
Yeah, I think there's so much to be said about people have this sales mentality, are looking for that next sale, right? When you're looking at marketing, kind of that big picture wealthy, like we're talking about generational wealth and being able to build a company that has like long lasting. I think there's something to be said about that. Yeah. I think you need both though. Mm-hmm. I think there's a time and place for both. And people have, bringing on some of our 1099 contractors who do sales, like you can tell if they're more sales driven or they're looking at like a long lasting relationship that's going to have reoccurring revenue, right? Because they're two different things. If you're just always chasing the next sale, you're going to get caught up in the mix.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts? Is this your first business, by the way?
No, not really. No, I started a company about 10 years ago when I was in the insurance world, called the Healthy Living Caravan. So I don't know if you've heard of it, but we actually contract with gated communities and we go in and we organize their health and wellness fair. So me having a long lasting relationships in the health and wellness industry, I've built a ton of contacts over time. So we've had that business we're going into our 13th season.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Did you still have it?
Mm-hmm.
Well, right. You started here in Naples?
Yeah, right here in Naples. Oh, it started in Benito Estero.
Yeah.
So our most successful year was in 2019. We were in 60 different gated communities. We did 2 large, huge expos. We touched tens of thousands of people in Southwest Florida through these health fairs.
Wow.
And that was a pretty cool concept. So yeah, that business started in 2013. Yeah, so we'll be going into our 12th season.
Are you hands-on in that business or not anymore?
Yeah, I was it pretty much for a long time. Yeah. The business was born back in 2013. It was just proven concept. Myself and a woman named Julie, actually, we kind of spearheaded this initiative. We built proof of concept. Julie ended up moving away. I turned it into a business. Yeah. And we charge a nominal fee to participate to the vendors. We don't charge the communities to go in there. So it's been a really cool opportunity to utilize my contacts and being able to create events. I mean, I love events, and it went hand in hand with the marketing agency. Mm-hmm. So really when COVID happened is when we pivoted to the marketing agency because we weren't doing any events in COVID, right? So 2019, we did 60 health fairs and then we closed down, right? So we only got half of the season in 2020 and then we shut everything down. 2021, we didn't have any health fairs. And then 2022 is when we kind of came back. But events have not been the same since COVID. I will say that. It's been very challenging, but we're still trying to recreate ourselves.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's picking up, I feel.
Yeah.
Right?
It is.
And Naples is growing so much.
That's right. There's new communities popping up all over the place.
A lot of opportunity.
There's no better feeling of being able to fill the room with healthcare providers and someone who just moved here from New York or New Jersey or wherever. And they say, where can I go to one event and get my doctor, my podiatrist, my vision person, you know what I mean? And they leave that event and feel like they've accomplished a lot, because especially when you're moving down here from another area, it's hard to get established with your healthcare providers,
That's really interesting.
Yeah. It's been a fun business. I was hands-on a lot in the early days. My team has really kind of taken some of that stuff off of my plate to be able to focus on the marketing business.
What drives you in general?
Honestly, it's my family. It's freedom. If you look at this entrepreneurship journey, and really diving into my why, I have 6-year-old twins, and I grew up with a mom who worked 3 jobs to keep the lights on, and my mom didn't get to many football games or baseball games. It was because she's worked, And I knew deep down inside, I wanted to create something so special with this company, but also to be able to give me the opportunity to wake up every day and say, I'm going to give it 110%, or I'm going to take a half day and I'm going to take the kids to the beach. That's what drives me, is being able to be that parent, be that husband that has flexibility, and being able to do the things I want to do.
What about before you had kids?
Honestly, things have changed, right? I mean, I think my wife's changed, obviously. I would say early on in my career, when we're talking about business growth and sales, I put money on a pedestal. You know what I mean?
Like money driven?
100%.
Yeah.
And I think now that I've been matured quite a bit, money hasn't been a huge factor. It's nice, right? I mean, watching the business grow and financially, sure, it's great. But the time is what's crucial. My mom passed away at 59 years old.
Oh, sorry.
And there's you look at that and you say, man, I should have had another 30 years, and time, like I said it before, you don't get that time back. So, you only have so much time to spend with your kids, your family.
Yeah.
Having that freedom.
Right. Let me ask you something. If usually when we employ, right, when we create teams, you're technically buying those 8 hours, right, for someone. So if you can buy time with money, can you use money to buy time?
Well, sure. I mean, if you look at any business's responsibility, right, like you said, if you're going to invest in employees, you're buying their time to be able to free up your time to be able to do things that matter more to you, right? Mm-hmm. So I absolutely agree that it's possible.
Do you think that every business should be money driven?
Absolutely not. Sorry.
With the main, like the core, like the values where they need to be, because sometimes I feel like it's thought that it's either or. Right? Oh, if I focus on making money or growing my business, and I'm not gonna do this, I'm not gonna do that. But what about not putting things in the same category? Because in order for you to create, huge things, and if you really want to change people's lives and the world, or whatever whatever you want to do. You need that tool, right? Like if we want to build homes, like we need tools, mm-hmm. right? And if you change that name, tools, for money, then what are you behind of? You're behind money.
I think it's important to go back to that, understanding why you're doing what you're doing to begin with. I spent 10 years in home care, and sure, it was a lucrative business and there's money to be made. But look, there's no better feeling than leaving a family's home knowing that our team was going to be able to care for their loved one, right? Especially here in Southwest Florida, when so many families don't live here, right? Their mom or dad lives here. They fly in for a weekend. They figure out that mom's not doing well and they need to have support. We get called quite often to be able to rise to that occasion. So, the hugs and tears from those families that you get, we always said, that's our second paycheck, right? And that just goes back to why we're doing what we're doing, is because it is impacting, it is making a difference. So I think every business has to go back, even restaurants, right? Yeah, it's fine to be, understand goals on money and financials, but can you create an experience that's going to bring families together? Are you going to create, an opportunity, an atmosphere where, corporate entities can come and feel comfortable? I mean, you have to understand the real reason why you're doing it.
Yep.
Yeah, it's very interesting, that conversation. And I think that there's that voice of being money driven. I don't think there's anything wrong with being money driven. I think that sometimes people don't say they are because of how it's going to be perceived, but it all comes down to the individual, right? And core values and things of that sort. But I think if you don't have the money and you're lacking the money, you're going to be more money driven because that voice in your head is louder. when things are flowing and you're getting money to come in, and now your team is working good, you're figuring out synergy, culture within the company, as that grows, and that voice of, hey, we need this money to pay payroll coming up in a couple weeks, gets softer and softer,
right,
your perspective starts to change, right? Your why, how you do things, and all of that. But that voice, I feel like, is always there, especially in a business, because businesses move with money, right? If not, there's no business if you're not making money, and there's no growth, right, really, if you're not making money.
Yeah. That's what gets me confused.
So that's why, it's a very interesting conversation. Yeah. And like you said, like about you noticed your mom working multiple jobs, and you would think, like, just that example alone, right? You wake up, somebody wakes up, and this goes on with so many people, right? Everywhere in the world. Literally just waking up every day. We all wake up to go to work somewhere, and a lot of people to pay just bills, a ton of bills. And
just to exist, right?
Just to exist. And you think about it, it's like, man, how can I get more time with people that I love or experience different things? And it comes down to that factor of, in a bigger scale, of money. Not to say, because you also don't want to put your head down, chase money for the next 10 years, and then you look back and you're like, I didn't spend any time these last 10 years with anybody.
Right.
So I think that it's that fine line of, I have to enjoy every day with people that I love, right? But also chase things and be money driven, especially if you're getting into a business at the beginning. Like, you need sales, right? Sales solves a lot of problems.
Sure. And like I said earlier, you can be in different phases. Like early on, when your business is, you're putting in the grind, like, you're right, cash is king. Like, you need to make sure that you have sales to cover payroll, to get to the next level. But I think as you grow, you scale and evolve, your business goals might look different. I think so many people, and I agree with you, I don't think being money driven is a problem. I also think it's easy, right? Easy to set goals. Well, we want to be at this revenue level by next quarter, or we want to end out the year at this top line revenue. You know, it's hard to set goals on things that aren't black and white, right? Either you made the goal, financial goal, or not, you know. But like, when we talk about, like, going back to home care, like, how can you put a goal to how you make people feel, right?
Yeah.
It's hard, right?
Yeah.
So I think it's easier to set goals on financial.
And if you get into business and you don't make money for 5 to 10 years, I want to see what you think about being money driven.
No,
because that's hard, man.
It's a little, it's hard, and it's a little contradicting too.
Right.
And we love asking these questions. We know that they're like technical questions, and that you can spread,
There's really no right or wrong answer.
Right. Why go into business then, is my question. And I know that there's all these philosophical answers that could get very deep for every person, right? Like, I want to start culture and all these things. I get that. But you can also do that and impact the company within an organization. It doesn't have to be you leading it or you running it, right? Or taking on all the risk and liability, because it doesn't matter if you're a small business, medium, or big. Yeah. As soon as your name is on an LLC or a corporation, now you have taken on all this risk, all this liability. You add on one person to your team. Now you're even more stressed out, because every 2 weeks you have to make sure you're paying them, right?
Right.
So as it grows, it's just like, if it didn't revolve around money, then it just wouldn't work. Business, right?
I think you're right too. And like, the cliche thing is like, oh, well, not to be money driven, right? But it's also like, you're right, you need capital, you need money to sustain. If not, then what do you do?
And it has nothing to do with serving your client, being good to your employees. Yeah. I almost feel like when we ask this question, and people get, a little bit like, oh man, I don't want to answer this question. It's already scary to me when they think something bad about money, because in my mind, I'm asking the question, what do you think about money, or can you buy happiness with money? I know it's a hard question, but when someone automatically says no, or without even thinking about the question, really, it's just a little scary, because in my mind, I'm thinking they're thinking something negative about that they will do with money. But I think that if your values are where they need to be, and you're always, if you come here and you say, I want to help as many people as possible, I want this company to grow, I don't know how you're going to pull it off without money.
Sure. I wouldn't be in a position to hire a third person who's starting on Monday without money. Yeah. Right. I wouldn't 2.5 years ago, almost 3 years ago, I wouldn't be in a position to hire my first employee without money. So, and look at that. Like, that was an opportunity. I hired Sierra right out of college. This is her first job, and she's learned so much, and she expresses her gratitude to, the company, because she has grown so much. And it's like, oh, well, that's another feel-good feeling. It's not, about like, hey, I've taught her a ton, and she is where she is today by her the past 3 years, Yeah,
it's super interesting. Definitely. And shit, man, you were saying something, and I had it on the top of my head what I wanted to say about what you were saying.
Yeah, we could talk for hours about this topic. And we talk about it, with the family too. Because we hear a lot, right? We hear a lot, oh, I don't care about money, but then all your moves are based around money. Like, everything you want to create are around money.
Okay, wait, hold on. What I was going to say was...
You found it?
Yeah. What has changed, at least for me, especially these last couple of years, is as I've been able to, and all of us really, connect with more and more business owners, and the ones that are just playing at a different level, at a different scale. It's more about giving, right? It's more about how can I help in any way,
right?
And this has been a common denominator across multiple business owners that are playing all at a high scale, but don't even know each other. They don't even frequent each other, but they're all saying the same things. And it's more of that giving perspective. But then ultimately, you give, and then somehow, some way, the universe, you receive, right? Yeah. So that has, and it's kind of interesting because from the first business we were in to this one,
right?
We were very hands-on, kind of tunnel visioned, and just with our heads down in the first business, where we didn't have that aspect of connecting and seeing how can we give back to the community, just be involved as much as possible.
We did it, but not as
not like now. Right now.
This level.
Yeah. Right. But yeah, that for me has been something that has kind of been like a turning point in my mind in business, right? Because I know I look young, man, but I'm going on to my 10th year in business next year.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's awesome.
I was telling Shay that.
Yeah.
I was like, next year I'm going to turn 28. I was like, it'll be 10 years in business.
That's awesome. Yeah, I will say, I mean, I remember it clear as day, and this kind of wraps up the whole like that other feeling is after I remember doing those flyers early on in the career and of home care flyers. And I had a gal, one of my clients called me like 2 weeks later, and she called me she first started with call me on a Wednesday, and she said, I have a sales in-service on Friday. I have nothing. She had just gotten her logo from Fiverr, which whatever. And she's like, I have nothing. She's like, I have my first in-service sales call, and I don't have any literature. I said, all right, let's get to work. I spent 3 hours on a Zoom with her that night. We got all this stuff, done for her. I gave her permission to go print at Staples one time only. And I sent her stuff, and she just killed it. She just killed that first sales call. She got her first 5 clients from that. She called me the next week in tears, crying. She said, Adam, you didn't just give me business cards and a brochure and a flyer. You gave me the confidence to look the part in my business so I can execute and get my first 5 clients. She goes, you gave me the confidence and the professional look. She's like, I can never thank you more. And I knew at that moment, this is more than just business cards, you know? So yeah, I mean, there's so many aspects of the business to be able to achieve more things. But that feeling right there is something that I strive for every day. Being able to have people really feel empowered, professional, and have better confidence to know that they can operate in their business because they have the tools and resources to be successful.
You guys, take it for a second because I want to search up some questions. I have a couple questions for Adam. I just have to find it really quick. Okay.
Yeah, I like what you said. So it comes down to her getting prepared, right?
Right.
I always say this. I think that you should always try to be prepared, right? Like because people can see it, right. Especially in business, especially in sales, right? Okay, this person is ready to do this. They're looking good. Right. They're trying to always look good, you know.
Yeah, and you know, it's funny. I come from a healthcare world where most of our, you know, business was reactive. You know, someone fell, they're in the hospital, they need help, they call us. Mm-hmm. And very reactive. Whereas I thought, like, being in the world that I'm in today, it's going to be totally different. And it's not really that much different because I think society waits and waits and waits. And, you know, I get calls all the time. I have an event in 2 days. I need pens. I need promotional products. I need to get a couple of shirts. And it's like, well, why aren't you not prepared? You know? So, I mean, that is a struggle. But, I mean, it just goes back to the point of, like, you know, being prepared, being on top of it, planning is key. You know?
Yeah.
I have one question for you, Adam.
Perfect.
What is one conversation you wish you would have had with someone that you never had or that you could have had sooner?
I mean, I have to reflect on losing my mom unexpectedly. I struggle with this a bit because, you know, I feel like you know, years were stolen, right? So it would definitely be with my mom, that conversation. The context of the conversation, I don't know. I think I would probably have to say it would probably be like an in-depth conversation of understanding, like, you know, I lost her when I was young, right? I mean, it was just 4 years ago. So I don't think I had the maturity to understand and grasp, like, I won't have a conversation with her ever again, right? Mm-hmm. Like,
how old are you?
I was like 31, 32.
31.
Yeah. So, you know, like, and then, so my kids were only 2 when she passed, right?
Wow.
So, like, this whole parenting thing is like, you know, yeah, I have my in-laws and I love them to death, but it's like, you think about these situations, like, you usually go to your mom, you know, your mom or dad, you know, when you have like those tough life questions. And to know that you don't have that person really to go to. So I don't know. It's a hard question. Yeah. That is a really good, hard question, but it would definitely be with my mom and maybe just advice on parenting.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know,
what about, I got another one for you. Can your business function without you?
It will.
Function without you.
Yeah, it will. That's a really good question. I don't know if it can today. I'm going to put a question mark on that. Okay. So I took vacation last year where I was on a cruise and I didn't have much access to email or phone, which was a good test. And I think we did okay. I think Sierra did a fantastic job holding the fort down. But, you know, she just said it a couple of weeks ago, like, we got to get some more things tied up. So, like, if you ever go away on vacation, like, I can run payroll and I could do this. And so it was like an eye-opening experience. And now bringing on a third employee, that's going to be one of my goals by the end of the year, is being able to fully have processes and procedures in place and understanding who's doing what when they're doing it. So in the rare occasion, I take some time off, it can completely run without me.
Yeah.
I would say we're halfway there. But that should be a goal, right?
Yeah.
For
yeah,
most.
I think those are, those two questions, kind of a piggyback to that question, but if the answer was yes, right, which it doesn't have to be. Like sometimes people think about it and they're like lean towards it should be yes, but no, it takes time, right? Like these things take time, but the people that the answer is yes, like yes, my business does function without me in it. Kind of the back question to that, which is just a good question to keep in mind, is if you check that box, then the next question would be, can your business grow without you? And now you're talking about a whole different level of business, because now you have people in place that can actually grow it, and to have staff like that in culture for growth.
That is a different level, right? I mean, I think it is two different things. I think one of, like I said earlier, one of my biggest goals by year end is to stop working in the business, but on the business. Mm-hmm. Working on big scale projects and kind of visioning for what next quarter, what next year looks like, rather than stopping everything I'm doing and doing design for a business card order that just needs it for this weekend. We catch ourselves a lot just saying yes, mm-hmm. trying to meet people's needs when it might not be the best decision for the long scale growth of the company.
What's the top 5 most important things in your life?
God, Jesus, my relationship with my faith. I wouldn't be where I am today without faith. Okay. I struggled 2 years with juggling both businesses and fear overcasting me, thinking that I can't do it. Right. So I have to give a lot of credit to my relationship with God and my faith, my family. Definitely number 2, we say all time and time again, like, why do we do this? And you do it for your family. It's like, okay, but what does that mean? Right. So, 5 things. Say again. 5 things.
Most important
thing. I would say, gosh, faith, family. I mean, my business would be 3rd. I mean, in long-term growth. Mm-hmm. Like we talk about. I'm still working on my why. Right. I'm still working, and it has evolved. But I want to build something really special that I could leave for my kids or not. That in 20 years I could look back and sit around a table with the 3 of us and say, remember when it was just us? I want to build something special. Mm-hmm. So business growth would be 3. My external family, my aunts, my uncles, all the people who've really shown up in my life, especially during these hard times, losing my mom. You go through these life changes in your friends and family. You show who's really there by your side, So, I would look at my friends and family as number 4. Mm-hmm. And 5, man, my 5th most important thing. I don't know. I got to work on my golf game for when I retire. I think that might be it. I don't know.
Do you want to ask these? The rapid fire ones?
Sure.
All right, so we have some rapid fire questions here.
You guys are on point. I love your questions so far. This is great.
These are just random fun questions.
Okay.
So just kind of like rapid fire style.
Okay. What digital or software tools do you use daily to make your life easier?
Trello currently. I don't know if you're familiar with Trello. Trello is a project manager tool that we love using.
I keep hearing these different ones.
Yeah.
We use ClickUp.
ClickUp, I love ClickUp too. I have a contract with someone to use ClickUp. It's very similar to Trello.
Yeah.
So yeah. But we demoed a whole bunch of CRM systems this week because we gotta get our big boy pants on. Yeah. We demoed Go High Level. I don't know if you heard of that.
Yes.
Yeah, we love it.
Yeah. Oh, you use it?
Yeah,
Yes.
we use it for a ton of things. Yeah.
Cool. All right.
iPhone or Android?
iPhone all day. No other way.
If you could only eat one thing for the rest of your life, what would it be?
Pizza.
Do you prefer winter or summer?
Summer. That's why we're here in Florida.
What is your favorite holiday?
Ooh, holiday. I would say Christmas. I think, Christmas now, watching Christmas through the eyes of my kids is something special.
Sorry, I lost my spot. Do you prefer to relax at the beach or the pool?
I'm gonna go pool just for my wife because she hates sand. So I'm gonna go pool.
Fifth Ave or Mercado?
Ooh, I'm gonna say Mercado just because I probably frequent there more than Fifth, but just probably because I live in Bonita. No real reason why.
If you could only work for 2 hours a week, what would you do in those 2 hours?
Sales. In sales meetings, building relationships.
A book you'd recommend to read?
Ooh. I would probably say 12 and a half, Gary Vee.
If you could have lunch with anyone, dead or alive, who would it be?
My mom all day.
What's your favorite restaurant in Naples?
Ooh, that's a good one. Favorite restaurant in Naples? I'm gonna go. Does it have to be in Naples?
No, I guess it doesn't have to be.
It can be Bonita or anywhere else.
Yes.
The Roma was kind of my go-to. It was my go-to for a long time. I just like a good Italian meal.
Yeah.
That sounds so familiar. Have we been?
No, we haven't been, but
We've definitely
we
heard
see
it
them
before.
all over. Yeah.
Yeah.
When you think of the word successful, who comes to mind?
My father-in-law. My father-in-law, hands down. I think he built something really cool with his family, and he's the most humble, wealthy person I've ever met.
What industry?
He was Air Force, and then he had a full career in the Air Force, and then a full career with Boeing, McDonnell Douglas, doing contracting. So, but he's just a very smart man when it comes to finances. So, I'm taking a lot of tips from him to create that wealth.
Mm-hmm.
If you could choose any career path, what would it be?
Entrepreneurship. Yeah, I can't ever see myself going to work for someone else.
What's been your best investment?
My employees. Shout out to them. Seriously, shout out to them. When we talk about buying time, I could not do what I do today at the scale that we're doing it without them.
Right.
Yeah.
Yep.
Hands down. So when we talk about investment, I'll do whatever I can to make sure that they feel valued because I can't do what I do without them.
Okay, last one. What's a bad piece of advice you heard people telling others?
Just figure it out, or wing like fake it till you make it. I hate that analogy. Hate it. I hate it because I did it early on in my career, and it comes to bite you in the you know what. I'm a big believer that honesty is always has to be number one priority. And I remember early on in my career in healthcare, like if I didn't know an answer, I would just wing it,
Yeah.
And I think there's so much to be said. Like people see through that. I think you said that earlier. People can tell. Like people can see through that. So it's like the whole fake it till you make it or just wing it. Like it doesn't work for long-term success.
If you fake it until you make it, then you make it and you're going to keep faking it.
Right.
That happens.
I think there's something humbling about saying, I don't know.
Yeah.
Let me
And it's
figure
hard,
back
right?
to you.
It's hard.
It's hard. But you know
When
what?
you don't know the answer to something, you instantly want to know, right?
Yeah.
And you'll just wing it.
Yeah,
Instead of just being like, no, let me get the person that.
No joke. I stood on a national conference in St. Louis about 3 years ago, speaking on a topic that I knew pretty well. But they opened the floor to question and answer at the end. And I'm in front of 200-300 people. And it was a breakout session. And I did not know the answer. And I had to sit back and say, I don't know that answer, but I 1000% will get back to you. And that was something that I was kind of proud of myself.
Yeah.
But you can't just wing it on a stage of 300 people in front of you. Mm-hmm. You lose all credibility.
Yeah. This is my last question.
Yeah.
If I know you as well as you know yourself, what question should I ask you?
Ooh. If you knew me as well as I know myself, what should you be asking me? I would ask me for one word of advice. And I say that because when I tell you I sat for 2 years juggling both businesses and saying, I can't, what if I can't do this? What if I fail? What if I disappoint my employee? What if I disappoint my family? Like, no joke, you have to lean on faith. Like, being an entrepreneur is not always comfortable, and you have to take risks. Look, I was 32 years old when I started this company. I had a whole life in front of me if it failed, right? I'm not going to let it fail. But my biggest word of advice is you have to take risks. And sometimes you just have to believe in yourself and lean on your faith. Mm-hmm. I truly believe that. And I'm saying that because I look back at the young me and how long it's taken me to get to where I am today with that mindset. Mm-hmm. And I know there's a lot of other people that might be in during that same challenge, right? They're working for someone, they have opportunity to do something on their own, they, or they have an idea and they just haven't run with it because they're scared. Mm-hmm. It's okay to be scared, but you have to lean on faith. I
love that, man. I love that. Yeah. Anything?
I literally have this written
on
my book.
Faith over fear.
Faith over fear.
I love it.
That's great. And you can't be scared about business. If it goes bad, and then you build it back again.
That's right.
And if you're scared about going into business and you're not as scared on flying on a plane, then there's a problem.
Right.
So
everybody has faith in something.
It's something, right? It's true. It's true.
Right. Adam, man, thank you so much for your time today.
I appreciate you guys having me, and I look forward to seeing how we can work together.
Thank you.
Thank you.